sun's out as well. Hey, what's up, everybody? Paul Miles from Mid-Atlantic MMA.tv. We're here at Bellator 33 Tryouts just wrapped up. We're joined by Bellator's matchmaker, Sam Caplan. Sam, thanks for taking some time.
Thank you, Paul.
So we're here in Philly, your hometown. We're getting ready for probably the biggest show in Philadelphia's MMA history. You put it together, you're a hometown guy. How do you feel being able to do that?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, Bjorn Revenue put this show together. He's the one that has brought all these fighters together, has put his promotion together, Bellator, and he's given so many people opportunities. And I'm just grateful that I've been given an opportunity by him to matchmake some world-class fighters. And on October 21st, we're going to bring some of those world-class fighters to Philadelphia. One of them being Eddie Alvarez, born and raised here, fighting his hometown for the first time. So I'm pumped and ready to go.
It's exciting. Now we haven't had a national promotion come in since UFC at 101. How important, being a local guy from Philly, how important is it to the city to have shows like Bellator come through?
Well, I mean, this area has been a mecca for combat sports for years. I mean, it's supported boxing for years, and it still does to some extent. Pro wrestling was huge. ECW started here. Ring of Honor sort of carried on that tradition. I mean, it's packed houses all the time, and it's a hotbed from MMA, but from a national perspective, it hasn't gotten that attention yet. It hasn't gotten that focus, and there's so many great schools here. There's Balance Studios. We're here at Dadis. There's Fight Factory. Stephen Hague has been in the game forever. He was fighting back when it was called NHB. There's Phil McLaurice over there, Balance again. Fight Firm, and then you have the gyms in Jersey, Pellegrino's. You have Gracie's in New York. You have, there's schools I'm leaving out, and people are going to get upset about it. But there's so many great schools here, producing so many great fighters, and this area can support big MMA shows more than once a year. All the major promotions should be coming in this area.
Now, in the past couple of years, as you've worked with Bellator, Bjorn, he mentioned that he signed Eddie Alvarez before he came on board. Lyman Goodman, a TSK guy.
Wilson Hayes is one of his first signings too.
How much leeway do they give you to bring up guys that you're familiar with from this area?
They give me, Bjorn is pretty much giving me the keys to the kingdom, and it really lets me do my thing. And I don't want to say I have complete autonomy, but there's some oversight process there. But he pretty much lets me do my thing. And one of the first guys I wanted to bring in from Philly was Zach Makovsky. Once we decided we were going to do a 35-pound tournament, I said, great, Zach deserves this shot. He's been ready for a big show for quite some time now, so it's great to be able to get him involved. And now, on October 14th in Kansas City, he's going to be fighting for a bantamweight title.
Now, when I first started seeing the fights come through early on in the announcement process, obviously with Eddie and Roger Huerta, one of the first fights he announced was Chris Liguri versus Ed Giedis. There's such a girth of talent. Girth is definitely the wrong word. Sorry about that. A dearth of talent.
That's a different show that you
different
do, right?
show, yeah. That's the other website.
It's the After Hours show.
Yeah. There's so much talent and so many guys that you're familiar with. How did you decide who made the show? Was it difficult to?
We kind of got two shows in one. We've got our scheduled 4 fights on the televised broadcast: Eddie Roger, Lyman versus Ben, Wilson versus Davidas Tarasevicius, and then also Rick Hahn, a 2004 Olympian, taking on Levon Maynard, who's fought in Philadelphia before. And then we've got at least 5 localized fights. So people are really going to get 2 shows in one. And when putting together the local card, I really wanted to go with guys that have been on the scene for a long time. I mean, I used to be an intern for a promotion called Combat in the Cage, so I've seen a lot of the local shows. I've seen a lot of these guys. So to be able to get Tim Carpenter, who's been around forever and deserves to be on a big show, 5-0, out of balance, jiu-jitsu black belt. I said I got to get him on, and I needed a good 205. Jamal Patterson out of New York, I wanted to get him on. Ton Pham. The first MMA school I trained at back in 2004 was Dadis. And I met Ton there and didn't really get to know him too well then, but I've gotten to know him pretty well the last couple of years, and he's been around the scene for a long time, has his own school at Fight for him now. I felt like he belonged on a big show. Fran Evans, a guy who's going to be fighting in the opener, is someone, at 6-1 as an amateur looking to make his pro debut. He's given so many other people opportunities with his show Locked in the Cage. I felt he deserved an opportunity.
One of the hardest working guys on the Philly scene.
Yeah, so I wanted to...
And a new dad.
Yes, congratulations, Fran. And Liguri's been around forever. I mean, he's fought in the UFC, he's fought in all the big promotions here in New Jersey, and now he's going to be fighting in PA. So, there's certain guys I just said, you know what, they deserve to be on this show, and they'll bring it.
Yeah. Now, besides Bellator, you're also the matchmaker for Matrix Fights. They have a big show coming up at the Steelworkers Union Hall on the 29th. How difficult is it to juggle 2 shows in the same town in 9 days?
You know, it's. I thought it was going to be hard, but it's not. It's actually a lot of fun because there's so many. Like I told you in the opening, there's so many fighters in this area, and to have the opportunity to put so many guys on shows and get guys fights and get them work. It's, you know, it's actually it's something I enjoy. It's not something that I see as a stress factor or as work. Or a challenge. It's something I really look forward to be able to give these guys their due.
Right. Now you started in the fight scene well before I got involved, but you started the same way I did, just running a website, going to all the local fights. Now that you've been in the game for a while, 5 Ounce has been online for a while, you're working in the scene at a much higher level than I am, just as a blogger. Do you look at fights differently? When you go to fights, is it more of a job than it was at first, or do you still just love going?
I mean, it's not a job. It's fun. I mean, it's as cool as you might think it is. It's probably one of the best jobs, you know, someone could have. It's my dream job, and I love every day of it. But it takes on a different level of intensity. I mean, it's not just for fun. It's a serious business. You know, guys are, you know, there's a lot at stake. It's a business. You know, there's investors putting money on the line. There's fighters who lives are at stake. You've got to make good matchups. You're working with the commissions. They're trusting you to make the right matchups and not put them in a bad spot where they're you know, there's liability. So there's some pressure. There's some stress at times, but it beats a day job. That's for sure.
Hopefully one day I'll know that too.
It's all about working hard and getting opportunities. I've been fortunate. I've had a lot of people go to bat for me, guys like Jerry Millen, Mario Ronaldo, Joe Kelly was the first person to give me my matchmaking job. And then Bjorn gave me this shot here at Bellator. So it's you know, there's a lot. More and more writers are now getting a chance to cross over and work on the inside because they have the contacts, they have the work ethic, and they have the knowledge base. So more and more guys are getting shots now.
Which is, you know, good for guys like me and Matt from the Fight Nerd, and, you know, the guys, hopefully the next generation.
You'd be surprised how many guys on the inside now used to write either under pseudonyms or surnames, and you know, I'll meet them, guys that are managers, guys that you know, that are involved in the inside. They go, yeah, I used to run a blog called so and so. Don't tell anyone, but my name is so and so. So there's a lot. You'd be surprised how many guys have written for websites that are now.
Come out of the closet, all you.
A lot of closeted guys, man.
Got to give blogs respect. We'll transition to something I've been waiting to ask you for a while. Your wife, Andrea Caplan, amateur 101. Right off the bat, what's a dynamic around the dinner table the night you signed a contract for your wife to fight?
You know, fortunately, you know, Andrea's back at Dallas now. She's been here back for a year. Brad really handles most of the logistics of you know, figuring out if she's ready to fight, where she can fight, you know, who she can fight. So, you know, she does. You know, Brad and Andrea do the most. They handle most of that, but I'm, you know, actually going to be matchmaking her on October 29th, which is something I hate to do. It's not something I like. I did it once before in last August in Kansas City for M1. It couldn't have gone more worse. You know, and I said to myself after that, I'll never matchmake Andrea again. I don't want to do it. But it just worked out where, you know, she wanted to get on the show. She wanted to fight in October. There was an opponent ready to fight her, so it just worked out. We made the fight happen.
Now, she's coming off her first win in Ohio. We were talking last night. You said that you had the corner. Now, how frustrating was that?
I wasn't frustrating. I was a nervous wreck. I mean, I didn't have a panic attack, but man, I was noticeably nervous. We got some help from a gym out there called Strong Style, and there was a guy named Victor, and he had to pull me inside. He said, relax. I know, man, I'm just nervous. I can tell. So it's just, you know, it's always nerve-wracking to watch Andrea fight to begin with, but to have to be that close to the cage and actually have responsibilities. I was a cut man for that fight. And, you know, we had a guy named Marcus Marinelli who was helping us out. He was doing most of the instructions, but just to be in her corner, that was very, very difficult. I was a nervous wreck. I don't want to ever do it again.
I can understand that. Now, October 21, we've got Bellator 33. October 29, we've got Matrix 3. Where's Bellator going after the Philly show?
You know, our season finale is going to be October 28th. We're going back down to Hollywood, Florida. It's going to be a big show. We've got Hector Lombard defending his middleweight title against Alexander Shlemenko. And then the other world title fight we have on there is Megumi Fujii taking on Zoila Frosto. So that's going to be that's going to be our first ever women's champion. We've got stacked undercarded on that in there as well. We've got a prospect, a middleweight prospect, one of the best prospects in Europe that I was able to sign. His name is Dragan Tasanovic. He's going to be fighting on the televised card, and Rafael Davis, one of the best 205ers that people haven't heard of, will be on the televised portion as well.
Now, I've always called her Megumi Fuji E.
Josh Barnett. I used to call her that, but Josh Barnett corrected me very quick.
Well, you know, if Josh Barnett tells you you're wrong, you're probably wrong. I'm not going to tell him he's wrong. But yeah, I remember you talking about when you first brought her over. She's got to be, you know, male, female, top 5 pound-for-pounders in the world.
You know, it's interesting. When I was a writer, I used to have to submit rankings for pound lists, and I really think it's gotten to the point with Fuji where a lot of writers need to open up their minds and start ranking her in the top 10 pound for pound with the males. I mean, it's, you know, you look at the top 10 pound for pound. It's not weight class specific. It shouldn't be gender specific either. You look at skill level. She's without question, male or female, one of the best in the world. Her ground game has been amazing for years, but you know, against Lisa Ward, her stand-up's improved leaps and bounds. I mean, she's just, it's unbelievable getting to work with her. She's incredible.
As a fight fan, because I mean, obviously being in the business, you have to be a fight fan. How cool was it to be the guy that brought her over to America?
Well, I got to give credit where credit is due. I was not directly involved in those negotiations. Bjorn Revney, and you know, worked with some people that were close to her. And you know, Bjorn was, you know, the one that really brought her over. I mean, he asked for my input, and he said, you know, what should we do? And we had talked about doing a 125 tournament at one point. And I said, you know what? I think there might be more depth at 115, and Megumi is better at 115. So, you know, Bjorn was directly involved with those negotiations, got it done, and it was just, it was a very happy day when I found out we had signed her.
Now let's talk about the tournament format for a second. I know this interview's starting to drag out, but there's a lot to cover with a guy like Sam. You know, it's obviously over the course of a couple months, but it is a tournament format. When you go in and pick those first matchups, obviously all the fighters have to be at about the same talent level, or the commission would squash their fight. How do you decide what the first round matchups are versus, how do you weigh those?
You know, we don't publish a seeding system online, but the reality is I do come up with, you know, numbers 1 through 8, and I try to match them up as best as possible. Sometimes I have to juggle things because, like you mentioned, there are commission approval issues involved, and sometimes we have guys like Ben Askren and Cole Conrad who we put into the tournament when they only have 3 or 4 fights. In some commissions, they're hit. They understand, all right, this guy was a NCAA heavyweight champion or Olympic wrestler. It's okay for him to fight 20 fights. But some commissions, they're more geared towards the boxing end of things, and they don't follow MMA as closely, and they purely look at the number of fights. So, you know, we've got to juggle things sometimes, but I try to keep it as authentic as possible and do, you know, seed number 1 fighting 8, seed number 2 for 7, but we don't publish it because sometimes we do have to juggle things.
Well, that's pretty much all I've got, Sam. Anything you want to say?
October 21st, Huerta versus Alvarez, the biggest fight in Philadelphia history. Be there.
Absolutely. You heard it. Bellator is finally stepping up their game and coming into Mid-Atlantic MMA's now. Sam, thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.